Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. My name is Ryan. Every kayak fisherman or kayaker, we never stop. There's always something that we want to add to our kayak. You know, we're on a small platform, so we are limited with space, and anything that can make us more comfortable, efficient, and have a better time in the water, we always want to upgrade that. Something new comes out and you just want to get it for your kayak. You know, unlike a boat, you know, most of the time the boats come, just like kayaks do, they come pre-done from the factory, but a lot of times boats, you have pretty much set ways of how you do things, and once you have it set up, you're done and it works fine, and there's not a lot of alterations to a boat. But as far as a kayak, it never stops. You know, I keep saying, oh, I'm done. Well, we added something else to this kayak to make ourselves more efficient and more comfortable on the water. So let's see what it is. Ended up adding the Gear Pod from Nucanoe to our Unlimited. We used to carry a dry bag on here only to carry all our essentials, because when we first bought the Nucanoe Unlimited, we were buying this for a tandem setup for me and my son. Well, my son's going to be 6 coming up here in July, and the few times I've taken him out in the kayak, you know, he's 6 years old, he gets bored really fast. So I pretty much set this up as a single person kayak. So before with the dry bag, I just kind of took it off and threw it in my truck and locked it up. But now that it's set up for a single person kayak, I was like, well, let me get the Gear Pod, because it's a little bit easier instead of digging through the dry bag when I had to like pull my battery out and everything to get to everything on the bottom. So the Gear Pod keeps me more organized. So I'm just going to show you what's inside, and I'm going to go over the pros of why it's good to have this. I keep, you know, toilet paper, sometimes dude wipes. I have my spare Torpedo battery. I have my first aid kit. We got bug spray, sunblock, headlamp. We got a Rogue tow strap so we can pull around when we're in the shallows. I actually have a rope for launching my kayak when I'm off the trailer, or just towing somebody behind me. We got some tire wraps, because it's always good keeping tire wraps with you. And I have a bag filled with my spare Torpedo prop, wrench, and WD-40, stuff like that that service the Torpedo, and some little hand tools. And you can see when I had all this stuff in there, I still had plenty of room left to add things to this Gear Pod. Now this is what I meant before. When I had all this stuff in a dry bag, I had to dig all the way to the bottom of the dry bag to get to what I wanted, because the Torpedo battery would sit on top, because it just how it fit in the dry bag the best. So now with the Gear Pod, I have quick access to everything, real fast and easy, when all I gotta do is just lean forward over my seat a bit and get all my gear real easy, instead of digging through the dry bag before. Load everything back in here real quick for you. But you can see I still have lots of room left in this Gear Pod from Nucanoe. This Gear Pod will fit a Dakota Lithium 54 amp hour battery in here. You know, not with this battery, but if you're running like, you know, a bow mounted motor or a lot of your electronics off that, Dakota Lithium 54 amp hour, and other brands will fit in here as well. But I'm just basing it off the size of the Dakota Lithium. Before I get into all the pros, I just want to walk around here real quick. But you can see it's got quick access thumb screws. Hopefully the light catches them. But you know, it has the Yak Attack thumb screws. You can change them out for the brass inserted ones from Nucanoe as well. But when I picked this one up, it was an older model on the floor at a dealership, so they had the old thumb screws. I'm sure the newer ones all come with the newer style thumb screws. If not, you can purchase those separate. But for the amount of times I take this on and off, it's not a big deal using the plastic ones. But you have quick and easy removable to this, and I'm going to show you that in a minute, to change to other kayaks super fast. This light will show you better there. From this angle, you can see the Yak Attack thumb screws. It's just 2 thumb screws that takes this on and off. You got a bungee up here that keeps it closed, and there is a gasket around this to seal this. Now this does come with the drain kit when you purchase this, and you can drill a hole down here low. I think right there is your like guide point, that little hole there, and you can put a drain plug in here that comes with this. I didn't do it just because you have to get a lot of water in this to begin with to be able to have to drain it. But the reason for the drain plug is to not have to remove this to drain the water. But with that rubber gasket, I've had no problem so far. I've taken it about 3 times. I've had waves over the bows, and I haven't gotten any water in this because it's, you know, the lid does seal over the top and has a gasket. So it would have to be a very substantial rainstorm. You're taking waves over the bow, flipping the kayak or something to really get water in there. And I haven't had any water in there yet, so I haven't done the drain plug. So like I was saying before, the benefits to having this gear pod is the ease of removing it. So once you loosen the thumb screws, all you got to do is reach in here. Probably easier if I wasn't reaching so far from my trailer. I think I got to stand on top. And it has a carry handle you can see right here as well. And you can pick it off and you can move it to another kayak. Now this kayak itself, or this gear pod itself will work on the Unlimited, the U10, and also the Flint, if I'm not mistaken. So if you have multiple kayaks, like we're gonna go get the U10 here shortly. So I'll be moving this from the U10, from the Unlimited to the U10, and have my spare battery and all my necessary safety gear, all that stuff with me by just switching them back and forth, grabbing it. It's lightweight. And another thing about removing this too is that you can take it off your kayak when you're staying at a hotel or whatever and lock it up in your truck, or take it in the hotel with you and all your valuable gear comes with you and you can carry it just like this and carry it with a handle. Overall too, when this thing is empty, it's lightweight. You are not adding a substantial amount of weight. You know, if I had to guess the empty weight of this, maybe 10 pounds. I'm not sure. I didn't look up the specs on that part, but it's lightweight. It's super, super lightweight. It's made out of, you know, plastic just like our kayaks, but it's still very durable. And I want that front weight to my boat anyway, especially running the Torqeedo. The more bow weight you have, the better this boat runs, especially with the Nucanoe setup for the Torqeedo. It's not like the original Torqeedo mount where you can adjust the trim to it. It's kind of stationary as far as where it sits on your kayak. So adding that bow weight to the front of the Nucanoe, to the Unlimited or the U10 or the Flint, if you have a motor in the back, is going to bring that motor up a little bit truer or straight anyway. So you can see right here, it just mounts on the two front tracks of your Nucanoe, your U10, or your Flint. And it just comes with the Yak Attack longer threaded T-bolts and your thumb screws. So that's what I love about the Nucanoe, is that everything is track mounted and you can easily take things on and off. So easy without having to do any alterations to this kayak itself. You know what's really cool about this gear pod is that they provide you with this piece of track up here. So you can create this as your console. Like I have the console separately, but if you don't have the console, so buying this gear pod combines a lot of things into one item. With this track being on here, you have the ability to put your fish finder on here. You can see I have a Yak Attack lock and load base to put my net holder thing I have on there, or my fishing rod holder, whatever I want to do. You can you can customize this however you want to do it. Really, putting your fish finder on here, putting your navigational lights right on here, putting lights up front here to light up your deck, maybe mounting a switch bank here that you can control everything or just disconnect it from a battery, but you can put the battery right inside this that controls your fish finder. It controls your navigational lights, operates your deck lighting. You can have everything contained in this gear pod. And when you're done for the day or you're staying at a hotel, you can just disconnect it with the two thumb screws and you have a lot of valuable gear into one little contained unit that you can take, lock in your truck, or take it into the hotel with you, or your Airbnb or wherever you're staying. So it gives you the availability to treat this whole pod as your console. So this gear pod really lets you have the ability to really have everything into one unit, having a console, having the availability to contain your batteries and operate your fish finder, deck lights, navigational lights, having a console right here where you can mount your fish finder. You can squeeze two graphs in here if you do the right mounts and offset them. So you can put two graphs on this as well. You can do a lot of things with this gear pod, and it keeps the cost down, in my opinion, because you're not buying a separate console and everything is contained, and it makes it easier for wiring. You don't have to worry about trying to get through your hole of your bolt. You don't have to drill holes like I did for my navigational lights. You can just drill them in the pod, and everything is contained where you're not making holes in your kayak, and it makes it really, really easy. Like I said, if I probably had this from the beginning, that's probably how I would set up my actual Nucanoe on this, or on my Unlimited, with utilizing this gear pod. It's not a big deal having this separate console like I do now, but it would have simplified things, and like I said, I could take it off and on really easy. Having everything on a gear pod like this on the track and just be able to remove it with two thumb screws really does simplify it and gives you availability to keep your gear a lot safer. So I covered a lot of pros with this gear pod. Be able to mount things to it very easily, taking it off and putting it away for safekeeping, changing from kayak to kayak. Adding the bow weight to my particular setup helps. Like I said, the box itself, when it's empty, is very light. It's not heavy at all. But just be able to take this thing off, having the availability to just put your battery in here and do all your rigging for the most part right up here on this gear pod. The only thing you have to do is your transducer for your fish finder. That cable runs back in there. Whether you have now you have a switchblade and you ran it off the side, you know, the Yak Attack switchblade like I used to have. Being I had the transducer back there, you would have to disconnect your cable for your transducer off your fish finder if it was mounted to this. Not a big deal. That I'd probably run that wire individually on the outside of the gear pod, so you can just unplug it, leave it with the kayak, and take the rest with you. But just bring your power inside there with a through-hole wiring from Yak Attack or whatever. There's a lot of makers out there now for that. But the gear pod itself, do I regret not buying it? Yes and no. My only really regret is that I should have bought it sooner, because of the whole fact of it was still the same concept of having a dry bag. But I would have probably put my navigational lights in here. Fish finder, I would have probably put in here and ran one main battery up front, just a little battery. You wouldn't need a big battery to run your fish finder and your navigation lights anyway, and maybe I would have added deck lights. Will I do that now? Navigation lights are going to stay where they are because I drilled holes in the kayak. But as far as adding another little battery up here, you know, from Nucanoe or whatever to run some deck lights, possibly, I don't know. You know, really the only con to this itself is not having one or buying it sooner. I think the main reason why I didn't buy this when I bought it, when I got the kayak, is just because of the money. And I mean, this thing is not super expensive. It's $200, but it's not cheap as well. So when I first bought the kayak, it was just adding cost to the kayak. So it's probably why I didn't buy it originally. But you know, just saved up for it and got it. And I'm glad I did get it. There is really no con to having this. If you don't want it, you take it off. If you want it, you put it on with 2 thumb screws, and away you go. So it's a great concept, and like I said, I think having everything combined, be able to put your navigational lights on here, having the battery up here, and store additional gear is absolutely phenomenal to add it to your Nucanoe U10 Unlimited or your Flint. I can't rave about it more than that, because it is absolutely great concept that they did, and having the track up front to be able to add gear and treat that as your console, they hit it out of the park with this for sure. I would suggest, if you can't afford it right off the bat, to definitely save up and get one of these. You won't regret it. If you do a tandem setup, you just take it off. I mean, it's not fixed. So it gives you a lot of options to really customize your kayak the way you want it. I don't know if there's anything else I can say about this. You've seen it. You can read other reviews about it. And it was well thought out with that track and everything else. And they actually give you little cutouts here, like you would bring your, you know, your wiring through from your through holes. Any questions or comments, drop them in the comment section. You know, whoever follows me now, or if you haven't been to this channel before, I get back to everybody. It may not be instantly, but a lot of times it's pretty quick because it's on my phone. I see it come up and I usually answer questions right away. So if you have any questions about it, or any questions even about the Nucanoe Unlimited, or the U10's coming up here soon, so I'm gonna have a lot of videos on that too, but I am here for you guys. I work for you guys. That's what's good about this. I work for you and nobody else, so I can tell you my opinion, I can give you my thoughts and all that, and nobody can fire me except for you guys. So that's it. I'm gonna stop it there because I can just keep repeating myself talking about this gear pod. It's great. I would definitely save up the money if you can't buy it right away, and definitely purchase it. I think you guys would really, really, really like it. So as always, guys, be safe on the water, and I'll catch you in the water. And thanks for stopping by, and I'll see you guys soon.